From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work. We will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you, God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims. We'll start here. Good morning, everyone. It's ridiculously early out here on TikTok, but we are here. Believe it or not, I just did my first little live on my Facebook. So I have a Bullhorn Betty Facebook account for me personally, Facebook for Bullhorn Betty, and I have a page set up that's Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We've had these pages for quite a while, and so now I have not really utilized Facebook for a number of years for a number of reasons. Many of you know I'm a political activist, right? So I'm part of the Front Row Joe's organization, and we do a lot of rallies for President Trump, and a lot of people sometimes don't like me because of it. And that's okay. That's okay. To each their own, right? To each their own. We had, I've never used it, but I was blocked a lot, during my political avocations and stuff like that. I was blocked on a daily. I was blocked on a daily on Facebook. So I've got like a gajillion accounts on Facebook to continue my activism throughout this process in 2015 and 2016. So I kind of got away from Facebook because I was butthurt, okay? Bullhorn Betty was butthurt Betty, right? But now it seems like a lot of things have calmed down over the years. I'm in a completely different type of mindset and organization, and what we advocate for these days are victims of crime. So we're a little more palatable on the Facebook groups. And so Facebook is, has been okay. We've set up a lot of great groups, a lot of great pages for victims of crime. It has been helpful in getting the messages out. So I see the benefit. I have decided to go ahead and start utilizing that platform a little bit more for the avocation of our true crime, our victims, the storytelling. And thank you, best mods. You guys rock. And so we are just kind of expanding. So I thought I would throw that out there. If you guys have never been over on Bullhorn Betty or Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories, I'm not really accepting any new friends for me for Bullhorn Betty. But they have a follow option on there. So you can always follow that account and get all of my updates. I post on that account more than I post on my True Crime Stories page, Bullhorn Betty True Crime page. And the reason why I do that is because my True Crime page is a private group. So you have to fill out a form, and my mods have to diligently review you to make sure you're not a troll that's going to upset the group. And so they're very diligent on their processes. But if you want to be part of the true crime community, go over there and fill out the form to be part of that community. But if you just want to follow me and get great content, you can do that just by following me on Bullhorn Betty. We have a lot to go over. This is Sebastian Rogers. He's a 15-year-old autistic child that disappeared from his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and has not been seen since. But before we go on to him, there is another case that's near and dear to my heart. This beautiful angel right here is Summer Wells. Summer Wells has been missing almost 3 full years. On June 15th, 2021, around 6:30 or 4:30, I can't remember, 4:30 or 6:30, a phone call came into the Hawkins County Sheriff's Department that there was a child missing. Their story has changed. The story that has been put out into media is that she walked off her house. That this new article, Ainsley Daniels has been a part of this case from the very beginning. There's no way she made this huge mistake. I don't know why she put it in there. It's the first that we've ever heard of it. This allegation that Summer Wells was last seen walking away from her home. I do not appreciate that statement. That statement was absolutely false with no credibility to it. And for Ainsley Daniels to say such a thing was really irresponsible. She's not going to retract it. I know Ainsley Daniels. I don't work with Ainsley Daniels, quite frankly. I like her colleague a lot better. But I know her personally, and I don't really care for her. She's a nice gal. She does her work very well, but me and her personally don't eyeball to eyeball, on a number of things. So, long story short, she did this new update for Summer Wells and her parents, and of course the parents, poor me, right? They're the ones being beat up. They're the ones that, law enforcement has targeted. They've taken all of their children. They can't seem to understand why all of their children have been taken from me. They're filthy. They don't live well. They don't live right. In the United States of America, you're required to keep a clean home. That is the one place that they fail more so than anything. Their home is disgusting. There's 2 well-bodied adults, and I guarantee we walk in their home right now, it's still disgusting. Okay? These are not clean people. They do terrible things. They have abused their children. That's why their children are not in their care. They weren't raising their children correctly. Now both of these parents have had 2 sets of children from other people. Both of the parents have had all of their children, not just this set of children. They had 2 other. There's been a total of 3 sets of kids removed from their care. All of them. Candace had 2 children that were removed from her care by DCS in Wisconsin, I believe. She even pulled out a pew-poo, a shot, you know what, the one that go chink chink ones, the chink chink. She pulled that out on a social worker in Wisconsin. Don had 2 of his children taken before Candace and Don got together. Don and Candace now have their 3 boys removed from their home after their daughter disappeared. So out of all their children, okay, out of 8 children, 8, 2 and 2 from prior relationships, that's 4. They had 4 kids together, that's 8. None of them were with them. So 8 kids are not with these parents. 7 kids were removed from these parents, and 1 child is missing. 10 years after her aunt disappeared off the face of the earth, and nobody was able to find her aunt either. Pretty interesting. I know families that have had, where their brother, 2 brothers ended up get unalived by, gun violence or whatever it may be. We've heard those stories. But to have 2 family members within a 10-year span vanish off the face of the earth, and there was 1 person present for both of them, and it was Grandis? I don't know. And Grandis happens to be the one that, packed up everything, walked out the door, and went to Illinois and Wisconsin shortly after her granddaughter disappeared. What was she doing? Where did she go? And she drove. And her truck has a lot of totes in the back of them, naturally, because they're slobs and disgusting. And they keep everything, like hoarders. So Summer Wells is still, listen guys, but I don't know how true it is. I hate rumors. I hate, the work that I do. Some of the work I do, it's hard to corroborate stuff. It's you try your best to do it. Sometimes you fall short. Sometimes you don't. It sucks. But I heard through the grapevine. Okay? I heard it through the grapevine that TBI took over this investigation. I don't know how accurate that is. That's what I heard. I heard TBI took over this investigation, and I heard that this has been very hush-hush and quiet since TBI took over the investigation. When I heard that, it kind of gave me hope a little bit of hope that this child will finally be able to have some justice. But in all fairness, I kept that to myself for well over a month and a half, maybe 2 months at this point. And I still haven't seen any movement. So, you know, I was hopeful. When I get hopeful and I don't want to say anything and I don't want to jinx it, I just won't say anything. And I'll just sit on the sidelines and just monitor and watch and see if what I'm hearing has any movement, because that'll tell me, you know, again, behavior, right? I look at behavior. And that would tell me that this holds water, or possibly holds water. I haven't had any of those indications. So I heard that TBI took over this investigation. Naturally, I'm hoping that that's the case, because that seems like it would be moving in the right direction. But in all fairness, I haven't seen any action that would support that. I haven't seen any movement on the part of this case that would support that. Like, this article it was all about the Wells. It wasn't really about Summer or her, you know, missing 3 years. It was about how they feel unjust in how law enforcement's handling them, you know. And it's like, what do you mean? Do you not understand your child's missing? What do you think that law enforcement's going to do? Hand you a bunch of kids and say, hey, we believe you? No, your story sucks. It doesn't make sense unless you're a freaking caveman or a Sasquatch. I don't see how anybody got that child. And where did the freaking couch go that was blocking that door? Where is the couch? There was a couch in front of that door. That couch had to be removed in order for this story to make sense. That couch was not on the property. Where's the couch? We have problems. Lots and lots of problems. So, there we have it, guys. That's really all I have for Summer Wells. We have a lot of stuff going on. This is the parents of Sebastian Rogers. Sebastian Rogers is obviously, this is Sebastian Rogers, again, the 15-year-old autistic boy that disappeared from his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And yesterday we had, or the night before rather, we had a very lengthy interview done by a YouTube content creator. And it was the neighbor that runs, that's the admin of the community Facebook group. So this is a private Facebook group where this admin sees everybody's posts, but none of us here outside of that community. Hey, Curvylicious, it's nice to see you, my love. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. And they were discussing some of the stuff of what they've learned from their neighbors. She's addressed the law enforcement. Law enforcement has argued with her, trying to narrate for her. She knows what she saw. She knows what's happened in her community, and law enforcement is going out of their way to try to dispute with the residents what they saw on their own cameras. You know, their knowledge of this case, because it's, you know, obviously law enforcement doesn't need that out. I anticipate more and more neighbors, I think, breaking their silence as more time goes on, because their law enforcement bodies have, and I told you guys that this would eventually happen, you know, that I've been doing enough of these cases that law enforcement has to have a good public relations when you have a case of this magnitude. Things get a little hairy. People start getting scared. People want to know what's going on. They're not being told anything. They're not being respected. They're not being, their law enforcement is not addressing their clear concerns about their safety, about their community, and other things. This is the primary purpose of law enforcement. Law enforcement has the duty to investigate, but they also have the duty to keep the community and the surround calm and informed in a case like this, and they're failing on all fronts. This is, you know, even if at this point they solve this case, this is damaging their reputation, because it's so wide. They could have implemented something very simple that just let people know that they are working on it and calm the curiosity and calm the people. Like if I lived in this community, I can understand their ultra legitimate concerns. They feel unsafe. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. A child's missing from their community. Nobody's telling them what in the world happened. And they have their own children that they have to be concerned with. So naturally, the people in that community are going to be concerned. And when their fears are not being answered in their worry box and they're left to their own devices in their brain, you're going to have a lot more angst. You're going to have a lot more anxiety from your community. And that is what is being cultivated here. Their community is filled with anxiety because they won't implement a simple process of keeping their public informed, not divulging information about a case. That is two totally different things, and they are failing in the front of public relations. And I'm sorry, if this was in my community, I would be calling Rick Wells and saying, look, dude, we don't have these problems here. Because my sheriff knows how to communicate. And trust me and my sheriff don't get along all the time. So I'm not sitting here touting him and patting him on the back. Do I like my sheriff? I do like my sheriff. Am I pleased with all of his work? No, I'm not. Okay? I've got several cases going on in his case that his detectives are not paying attention to. So clearly, you see what I'm saying? So I do have my own problems. My issues pale in comparison to somebody else's issues. I get that. But in a situation like this supersedes all of that petty nonsense, even if I was in that community over my petty nonsense, right? But the problem is they're not communicating with their entire community. And while some people outside of that core area may be on with their life and don't give a crap, but the people in that core area do. So I don't know. I feel like they're pandering too much to the will of the Proudfoots. And I think that at this point, it's like the gloves need to come off. We know what is going on here. We have a good understanding. The parents there, we've learned a lot. So what we learned yesterday, just to reiterate for the morning crew here, I went over it last night, but we will go over it again here, is what we learned from the neighbor is there was an unidentified car there. Those light sources that we saw that law enforcement said had no evidentiary value, then tried to lie to everyone. And I'm going to say it like that because they did lie to us. And it's important for me to embellish that because there's a reason why I don't go to law enforcement for my information that many people say, well, law enforcement didn't say. And that's why I do my own work because law enforcement has a duty to that case. To keep that case as low-key as possible. And while that is their right to do, as our right here on social media, in the media, we have a right to bring those cases up. We have a right in the media to do investigative journalism on those cases. We have a right to dig in. We have a right to question people. We have a right to go and get that information, and we have a right to bring it to our audience. It's our right, not even only our right, our constitutional right. That's why it's a constitutional right to have freedom of press. It's a constitutional right. So, law enforcement wants to keep the news away. We want to make sure that our audience is well apprised of everything that's going on. And so, when we start getting into these interviews are the only time that we can literally look under the hood and see what's going on in these cases and really get some information, because at the end of the day, we don't know these people. We can assume all day long that these people are one way or the other, but at the end of the day, truth be told, we don't know, and we could be totally off base. We could be totally off base. So it's always really good to get a third party, somebody that is an outsider looking in, but it has watched, that's there, that knows, that, and there's that issue. And my footsie book, if you keep spamming my chat, I'm going to block you. Just letting you know. Clearly it's not. Actually, you know what? You already irritated me enough this morning. Give me a second. I don't like people doing that. That's irritating for me. There you go. Make a new account, come back. So what we have here, this is what was told. She went through a whole laundry list of things. First of the things were behavior. Behavior, well, you're blocked now, so it doesn't matter. The behavior in this particular matter, the Chris and Katie, one thing that was told to us by this neighbor, remember I told you when everybody was passing around the fact that, oh, hey, MAGA, it's nice to see you. The fact that they passed around that Katie was having an affair, and remember how I told you I sent somebody out there and there's no weight to that? Well, this lady addressed that too. These people don't have people come to their house. Okay, which is pretty odd seeing how Kathy knows where they live, but they said they don't see people visiting their home. The people don't go to their home. The neighbors were almost laughing, if you will, when the idea that Katie could have possibly been having an affair, especially with somebody in the community or this. Nobody comes to their house. They're isolated. We find isolation with a lot of abusive families. That is one of the key things. The families isolate very, very much. You see it in Madalena Kojakari's case. You see it in a lot of other people's cases. Whenever you have a lot of home violence, a lot of abuses inside the home, those families isolate. Those are the families that don't get a whole lot of people coming to their house. You'll always see the father or the mother hovering over the children or the child. For example, they either don't go outside, or when they go outside, they have an adult next to them, literally next to them. For example, if they're riding their bike, they got that person walking right behind them. They want to make sure that if they say anything to anybody, they know exactly what is said. It is it's very interesting how these people keep their subjects quiet and intimidated. So I don't know. It doesn't sound like anybody really communicated. It sounded like they had one neighbor that, you know, Chris kind of liked, that he would go out there and chat with or whatnot, but it doesn't sound like he was very sociable with any of his neighbors in the neighborhood. They seemed like they were the family that everybody kind of didn't know and didn't seem like they really cared to know. You know, they knew there was something odd about them. They just stayed away from them, you know, and did the neighborly thing of inviting them wherever and just prayed that they didn't show up. That's the kind of how I feel about it, because it seems like this community, you know, they are all a normal family, so they all have their normal family problems, right? And one of the things was Chris and Katie's, some of their fights, they've only been here a year and a half. And in that year and a half, fights have poured outside of their home on multiple occasions. The neighbors know that CPS has been to the Proudfoot home on multiple occasions. It was stated that there have been multiple CPS reports and CPS visits to their home in this year and a half that they've been in this community. This is very upsetting to me, because Sebastian's father was a well-bodied man that could have taken him and put him in a safe environment. He had, a 2-bedroom place in Clarksville. He was doing his best that he could. Was he a perfect father? No parent is. I'm not going to sit there and keep having the same argument about it. He loved his kid, and he was a good dad. That's at the end of the day, he loved his kid and he was a good dad. And that's all that matters to me. And CPS failed to report to the father. If that simple thing would have been done out of one of these multiple calls, one of the multiple CPS calls to this house, one of multiple, if just one of those people or the teacher at the school that knew that they had joint custody, why didn't the teacher from the school call the father when they were apprised of this information? Nobody communicated this with this father. Nobody. And anybody's suspicion or statements that Sebastian would have made were kept from his father, even by his own family. So it's not fair to blame Seth for anything when it comes to this. He was literally in the dark. In the dark. He would have taken his child out of that home and given his child a safe place with his own sanctuary. His son thrived in his care. He didn't have bathroom breaks. He didn't need to wear a humiliating diaper on him at night. He was able to go outside and get fresh air. He went to the park with his father instead of closed up in his bedroom. His neighbors at his dad's house knew who he was and communicated with him, unlike the Proudfoots, which barely saw him nor ever spoke to him. There is literally a night and day difference in the care he was receiving at his mom's house and the care he was receiving at his father's house. To me, just based on what is being said, according to the CPS reports, the only information that Seth would divulge out of those reports is that in those reports, Sebastian told the caseworkers multiple times that the only place he felt safe was at his father's house. Father took him fishing, yep. His father did a lot with him. And you know what? One of my mods on YouTube really, I think kind of hit it on the head. And I can't remember verbatim what she said. But she said something like, gosh, it was basically that Seth was teaching his son to live. And Katie and I can't, she didn't say it like that, live and survive. She didn't say it like that, but treated him like a normal person, you know, and didn't treat him. He tried to teach him how to do things with his hands. He tried to teach him independence, but I can't remember. There was something she said, and it was so perfect. I couldn't have said it, made the words, you know, placed as well as they did, and it was perfect. Just like Lisa B. always, she kind of, in my opinion, nailed, hit the nail on the head when she said that Chris and Katie were trying to discipline him into normalcy. They were trying to discipline this child into normalcy. They were punishing him for over things he couldn't control. It was stressing him out and causing him to lose his, continence. He was incontinent in some cases at his house, and that has to do. Every time I see that in a child that's potty trained, it comes down to abuses. In some cases, I don't want to say in most cases. In some cases, it is SA. Some cases, it is just a urinary tract infection, and in many cases, it's just pure terror. Verbal, emotional, just abuse. And I feel that this boy was completely abused and stressed out. Even if he wasn't being physically abused, he was being verbally abused on the daily. His dad didn't talk to him like that or treat him like that. He loved his son. Chris is a big guy. And, he could have been a protector of Sebastian. And he failed. He failed. He could have done more, and he failed because he's part of the abuse. And now the boy's gone. So all these people, and I keep seeing stuff, always there's a few people still on, YouTube making fun of Seth. Like, how dare you? Like, I think this mother literally unalived her son. And you're focused on the father that takes him to the park and has been out there every day searching for him and is literally breaking apart piece by piece on the daily. I think it's heartless. I have no respect for it. This man is hurting. I can't even imagine waking up and like, I haven't seen my stepdaughter in a little minute, And I just keep thinking, if I woke up tomorrow and she was gone, she's a grown-ass adult. If she was gone tomorrow, what I would do, I would literally flip this earth upside down. That's my stepdaughter that I have not seen in a little minute. This is not a child I gave birth to, but it's a child I love. And no matter how old she gets, I still love her. Chris is being able to hold his daughter. I wonder if he pats her on the back and pats her on the butt and says, I did this all for you. I just keep wondering. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in those two. So the other things that we learned was the unidentified vehicle. We learned that there was some activity. Nobody was there. Nobody comes there. They isolate. They had family problems that poured out into the street. And now there's a lot of stuff that was going on inside that house. For example, Katie was supposed to be asleep, right? She wants us to believe. I've honed that into you guys because I didn't know what it meant, but I knew it meant something. So I've been drilling it into your heads. Katie wants us to believe that she was falling asleep on that couch at 10 and did not move, and only moved when she got up off that couch to go to sleep, to go to bed and to go to sleep, because obviously she was sleeping, and she was sleeping at midnight. She needed us to believe her ass was on that couch at 10 and did not get off that couch until she went to bed. And when she went to bed at exactly midnight and fell asleep. And she was asleep and in her bed, and asleep, obviously, and in her bed at midnight until the next morning at 6. And then when she wakes up, she says, I get out of bed, I go into the room to get my son up so he can start getting ready for school. So if you get up out of bed and you walk into the room to pick up your son, or to get your son up out of bed for school, you should be in your pajamas, okay? You should be in your PJs. She just woke up. She's crossing the room, crossing the house to go to her son's room to wake him up. She's in PJs. She didn't see her boy. She immediately freaks out. Within 3 minutes, calls Chris. A completely hysteric wreck. That's what she says. I was hysterical. Chris says she was so hysterical, I needed to call law enforcement for her because she couldn't make a sentence. Within 3 minutes, she calls her husband. Last person to speak to her the night before, first person to speak to her the morning of. Interesting how that worked out. So she's in the car. Now she's driving around. Hot mess express. She doesn't know where her son is. She's all over these roads, right? She gets up out of bed, goes, gets her son up. His son's not there. She's freaking out on the phone with Chris. Now she's in her car driving. Now she's coming back. The whole cavalry's pulling up. How in the world is this woman dressed? How is her hair fixed? How is her teeth brushed? She said she woke up and she went straight to her son's room. At what point did she have time in all of this chaos and all of her misery and concern and anxiety of, oh my God, my kid's missing? Did she say, oh, you know what? Before I go look for him, hold on, Chris. Let me put you down for a few minutes. I need to brush my teeth. I need to fix my hair. Let me get dressed real quick. Never went over to the neighbor's house to knock on the neighbors. The neighbors said they saw her on the outside of the house. I don't know if she was hollering for him or not. Did she have a cell phone in her hand when she was outside? Or was it just, I got questions. The neighbors said that she was home before cops got there. We heard, so I think that when we heard that thing on the radio about her not being there, I think they were looking for her I think they had already been there and they were looking for her and that she was either in the house or outside of the house. I don't know. I think that was misunderstood. Yeah, 3-way 911 call. She was so hysterical. So hysterical. So when out of all the hysteric, when did she have time to say, oh my God, I need to get dressed? Like, my kid's missing. I'd be out in the front yard half naked. Okay? Like, I don't understand this. So I'm curious because I did find out that when Seth got there, she was fully dressed. And so I was listening to the neighbor, and it sounds like first thing in the morning when the cops arrived, she was fully dressed. So at what point did she have this time to brush her teeth, brush her hair. Did she have makeup on? I don't know. Maybe she doesn't wear makeup. She doesn't look like she's a makeup wearer. But I don't know. Did she have makeup on? So I have a problem with that whole scenario. So now we have Katie in the house. It's 10 o'clock at night or whatever. She tells us that Sebastian went to bed at 9. In this version of events, this original version of events, the thud didn't happen until 11:30 at night. And the thud in this story, not only did it happen at 11:30 at night, but when she hollered to her son said, "No, Mama, I'm okay," or something like that. Go to bed. It was never Chris in this version that told her to go to bed. It was her son. And it just so happens to coincide with an 11:30 light being turned off in his room. His room was dark, had the light turned off around 9 p.m. Allegedly, or 9:30. I think it was 9. And apparently the lights have come on and gone off a couple times since then. And then at 11:30, his light goes off. You see a figure walk across the house. The back light in her room goes off. And then a few moments later, the entire house goes pitch black. And in the camera from the Ring doorbell, you see a silhouette at the dining room window. Looking. Talk about creepy. Talk about horror film vibes. Horror film vibes. The whole entire house goes completely dark. And you see a silhouette in the front dining room window looking. Who saw what? That freaked me out. And then after that, we see light sources on the outside of their house, by their back door, going toward the construction site. And we thought they were going to the construction site, but oh wait. When you play the tape through, you see the light sources going to an unidentified car. Wow. And so I had an opportunity to look at it. And the brake lights on this vehicle that was parked there was too high, in my opinion, to be a pickup truck. It looked like SUV lights to me. I could be wrong. The video's hazy, but they were long on the side. And the only ones that I see that have the ones are SUVs. My car didn't. They had them down, kind of down here. The only one that has my brake lights up higher are my SUV. So I don't know. I've got to go back and review it. We have it. It's on Bed Crime Stories on YouTube. Bed Crime Stories. She slows it down. Go over there and look at it. Let me just see. I'm probably going to play a portion of it on my YouTube, honestly. And it's this one right here. It's this one right here with the... Oh, you didn't see it. It's already starting to play. It's got... let me just pull this up. Hold on. It's this one right here. This purple thumbnail on Bed Crime Stories. 3 separate words. Bed Crime Stories. 3 separate words. But you're going to look for this purple thumbnail. It's the last one she just dropped. The last video she just dropped. You're going to want to hear that because she goes over the leaked videos. The leaked videos of the light sources, and we know exactly where they came from. We know exactly what house it is, and we can definitely see the lights. I thought when those lights came on that they were floodlights, and then I said that it looked like it's possibly vehicle lights. And I thought it was coming from the construction site, but it was not. It was coming from down the road on Keller, where they walked to. So I wonder if they went to the construction site to throw something away, or used a dumpster to throw something in there. But they definitely walked over to a vehicle, these light sources. I watched it with my own eyes. You need to watch this video. This video will clarify a lot of stuff for you. But again, it was just released 12 hours ago. I always try to give creators, you know, because we all, to be honest with you, there's fair use and everybody violates fair use on our YouTube platform and on this platform too, quite frankly, in many cases. But either way, it's something that we do. I try to follow the law as much as possible and take just the portion I need and critique it or talk about it in a positive light. You can do a number of things with fair use. So I always try to be positive if possible, but there are sometimes I pull things to criticize it and whatnot. This is one that is only a 6 minute, almost a 7 minute video. And yes, thank you, Lina. Thank you for that. Where do I find it on YouTube? It's right above you. Is it Lina or Lena? Proctor just write it. It's bed stories. You just go in there and type in on the in the search bar of YouTube. Just said bed crime stories. 3 words. You should pop it up. It looks like this. This is what you're looking for. You're looking for the little witch doohickey. And once you see the black little witchy lady that says it's bed crime stories, then that's the channel you want to go to, and you want to go to the 3 leaked videos video. And it's really good. It breaks down. It shows you the light sources. It shows you the car. It shows you the positioning of the camera. It shows you the angle. It is a legit photo or a legit video. This has been corroborated as true. This is definitely a very good piece. I think everybody, one of my mods, her name's Guidance. I can't remember. I think it's Guidance with TLC, but I could be wrong. She's changed her name just a couple times on YouTube. She did an overlay. She did an overlay, and you can clearly see the lights. Then there was one other second clip where you literally see, and I truly believe, a light source going back to the house. So now that we see the light source that Nick Barris put out to the world, and it's a light source. 2 light sources are together. You see one kind of going to the vehicle and the other one going back into the house. It's what you see. Now, I don't know what those light sources are, and I don't know who they are, right? We don't know who they are. We only literally see some dots. We can assume that the person going into the house is Katie and the person going to the car is Chris. We can assume that, but we don't know that. We have no clue what that is. We see lights, little bright little dots floating around. That's what we're watching. You can't see an image. You see a little circle thing moving. That's all you see. That's not necessarily the best, but it shows somebody was moving around their house, and somebody was moving around their house with flashlights or some type of cell phone that have a light on it. It was a light source. You clearly see those light sources going to a shadow that at one point had lights on the front and the back of it, which imply it's a vehicle. Just saying how these are being applied. Can I see that it's a vehicle or what type of vehicle it is? No. But I can assume it's a vehicle because you can see a shadow and they have lights on the front and lights on the back. Could it be a golf cart? Yeah, but I don't know a golf cart that has that bright of lights. But hey, it could not be a car. It could be a golf cart, okay? It could be an ATV, okay? But one thing it's not is not a motorcycle, okay? And it looks like it's got a top, so I don't even think an ATV. So you got golf cart or car. And it's too small, in my opinion, to be a golf cart. So to me, it appears that it is a vehicle there. It's a vehicle with lights on the back of it and lights on the front of it. And then shortly after that, you see these flashlights, or these little dots floating in the air. All around there. 2 lights going to this shadowy thing that has lights on the front and lights on the back. And you see one kind of going around and going back to the house. I mean, I don't know what that means to everybody. To me, it implies that there was a vehicle down the road waiting for somebody. To me, it implies that 2 people walked out of the Proudfoot home. It implies to me that one person stayed at the car and one person went back at the house. There's 3 people that live in the house. One person is missing. Did Sebastian know how to drive a car? According to his father, he did not. So who was in the vehicle? Where was Chris? Where was Chris? And then when the lady talked to law enforcement, when Katie talked to this lady, the neighbor, when the lady talked to law enforcement, and he seemed very upset with her that she's been talking to her neighbors about the case. He seemed to be a little irritated with her that she had knowledge, factual knowledge about this case. He tried to make her not believe what she saw on the tapes, and she wouldn't have it, and told him that she wasn't going to have it. And so then the officer says, well, I'm not going to argue with you about it. Because they have the integrity of the investigation. This woman knows that it is not a dump truck in the middle of that grassy knoll. There's no way, no how. She knows that, and and the law enforcement knows she knows that. And so she's not buying it. So they're literally doing as much as they can to diffuse what the residents actually saw on their own cameras with their own eyes, and actually arguing with them, saying, no, that's not really what it was. It was a dump truck. And then they're saying, hey, explain to me how it was a dump truck. Oh, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to argue with you. We're on to something, and they need to keep it down. So we do have, we've been trying to find a vehicle. We found a vehicle. Okay, we've been trying to find how this child could have been transported. We found the possibility of this child being transported. Oh, thank you, Emma. God bless you. We found that. Law enforcement is trying to say that was an Uber. And this lady kind of said, well, no, I know who had the Uber. It was so-and-so on this road, and they had to go to the airport. That's why they ordered the Uber. And the Uber did go to their house. And the Uber went to their driveway and picked them up. This car was at an area that had no driveway, at an area that had no house, and was parked there 3 to 5 minutes. This all transpired in 3 to 5 minutes. These light sources came from the house, over, whatever happened. This whole thing took 3 or 5 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes, according to the neighbor. So we found a car, an unidentified car that was in the community, that these light sources that law enforcement says has no evidentiary value in this case, and is just simply a garbage truck pulling through in the middle of all these backyards, driving through the grass. And you know what? I still haven't seen one tire impression in the area that I saw the lights. Just saying. Okay? Just saying. I haven't seen any dump truck tracks through there. I'm just saying, right? I mean, a dump truck would leave an impression on grass. If you don't believe me, let me borrow a dump truck, and I'll drive it through the back of the Proudfoot's home. We'll see what kind of damage it leaves. We'll see how much damage. I might need bail money. Make sure you guys got a pot of bail money for Bullhorn Betty, so when I drive that truck through their backyard and they come and get me, you guys get me out, okay? We'll put it to the theory to test. We'll put the theory to test. Those weren't lights. That was a dump truck. Okay, get me a dump truck. Hey guys, can you see me? Does it look like the lights? Does it look like the lights we saw? Does it look? I don't know, Betty. It's getting drowned out by the red and blues behind you. You know? Well, you know, the law enforcement gets to go and reenact. Why can't we? It's only fair. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I just want to check it out. We just need to see what the cameras pick up. That's all. It'll take me 5 minutes. We'll be done. We'll be out of there. No problem. You know I would do it if I could get away with it. You know I would do it if I could get away with it. If it wasn't unlawful to drive a dump truck or a garbage truck in the back of their house, we would do it we would do it at the time of night that they would do it, just to see what's on the camera. I'm just saying. I'm being practical here. I think we should test the theory. Ooh, you know what we could do? I might get a trespassing ticket, but you know what we could do? That would be really cool, but I'd need a second person. We could measure the width. Ooh, this is what we could do. We could measure the width of a garbage truck, and we can take 2 lights and put them on sticks. And if I got somebody that can keep up with me, we can run through the backyard We won't leave any tracks, but we can run through the backyard to see if the camera picks it up. I'll go knock on the neighbor, say, hey, we're going to be doing a test out here. Can you please check this out? We're just going to run with a bunch of lights in our hands. Can you see if you can see us? Can I pay you for the video? I don't know. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But there is a video. There is, the neighbors got this on video. This is all I'm telling you is stuff that they saw on their own videos. So this idea that there's no evidence, that there's nothing here, there's no way law enforcement is not looking at Katie or Chris or the Proudfoots, in my opinion. There's no way they could not be. I think they have an idea of what happened, just like we do. We have a good idea of what transpired. I mean, we do, period. We have a good idea of what has happened. If we have this good idea of what has happened, then law enforcement also has this idea of what has happened. So what they're doing now is they're collecting their evidence and making sure that they can prove what they know. Knowing something and proving what you know are two totally different things. Two totally different things. We can know that they did it. Just like the Wells, we can know that they did it, but we need something to say how they did it, what method, motive, means, and opportunity. All those answers have to be, all those questions have to be answered in order to bring this to trial, even for second degree. You know, even if they tried to move forward without Sebastian's remains later down the road, you know, they still have to prove motive, means, and opportunity. And that's where we're at right now. We also learned that they never went to even the first vigil. The private vigil that they had in their own community, they sent their aunt and uncle. What do you think? What do you bet it was? Uncle D. Big D, right? They didn't have a relationship with their neighbor. The lady was asked whether they have their home on the market. I don't know, because she explained that she doesn't know. She's heard those rumors as well, but she wanted to let us know that both of her neighbors that have had their house on the market, they've had to take their house off of the market because of the fact that everybody was going there to look at their house as a looky-loo to get more information about the Proudfoots instead of, you know, looking at the home to purchase it. So they've already tanked 2 sales of their neighbors in this community. And that is just like these people, and they're running away. They don't want to stay in their home. Katie's hiding away. They always hid away, because they're an abusive family and they don't want people to know what goes on inside their home. So that's why they isolate. Normal people don't isolate. You know, they just don't. I don't know. Faith mom must be scared. I know, Emma. That's what I'm thinking. You know, because it sucks because these courts force you. Even though you know that you're putting your child in danger, these courts don't care. They don't care about the safety. Some of these courts don't give a rat's ass about the safety of your child because they are so immune to all the fighting from these parents. When there's truly an issue, they overlook it because they think it's just another pissed off mom or another pissed off dad, because they listen to these whiny ass parents all day long. And when there's really an issue that they need to address, they don't believe it because of all the nonsense that mommies and daddies bring to their courtroom. When the real mommies and daddies that need help, they don't get it because they think that they're just as whiny and bitchy as the rest of them. I can't imagine my daughter Faith going and staying with her father that has been as violent as Chris has been to her, as missing a child. Whoo! And there's another thing. Hold on. The reason my niece is no longer with us. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry to hear that. But somebody also said, I mean, getting to some of my emails, the niece, one of the people that had sent me some emails were talking about the nieces. You know, there was a niece with him, and they were talking about the Kansas moms. Who brought that up? Kansas moms. Margine. So Eminem brought up the Kansas moms. By the way, you got to see this. Did I bring it in here? Oh, I must have taken it back. Hold on here. I got to show you this. Everybody knows that I'm expecting to have a little fur baby, And so Eminem, look at this. A little big for her, right? Born to sparkle. Isn't that cute? She will, it'll probably still be a nightgown on her, but in about a year or so, she will. And she threw some money in there so we can get her some treats. I'm getting a little fur baby. Her name's going to be Delilah. I should have her within a couple weeks. Hopefully I'll have her by the time I come back from Tennessee. So I just thought that was really, really, really cute. So I thought I'd throw that out there. But Eminem reminded us in the Kansas moms. What was able to break the case? Remember, we covered them. It was the mom and the preacher's wife. They were going for a custody dispute. Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelly. Remember those? The moms from Kansas. They went to a small place in Oklahoma and were never seen again. It looked like something out of a Wild Wild West movie when they found their car. It appears that there was the grandmother and was responsible, and then we found out that it was not just the grandmother, it was their friends that owned a cattle ranch. Well, what broke that case wide open was the daughter of one of the participants. It was the daughter that told on the mom and the stepfather. We know that Aunt Melissa and the niece was with them that day. What do those children inside that home, what have they been hearing on the phone? What have they overheard being talked about inside their home? Has law enforcement checked that out? Because my problem is that was over in Gallatin. I have a sour taste in my mouth with Gallatin Police Department for a number of reasons, including a boy that was dragged by his car in park while he was with his father, but his father, no road rash whatsoever, but yet his father is still walking free and the only person around him when this car rolled over his son. And he did nothing except stay on the top of the hill while everybody else was trying to pull this truck off his son. And he's calling police, not running down there. I would love to see this man. I would love to see this man. So I have a little bit of a problem with Gallatin, their ability. I have a problem with Tennessee altogether. I don't know. I think that they send all of their law enforcement to the Academy of how not to solve cases. I don't know what policies and procedures they have in place, but they suck. We're still here with Sebastian Rogers, which clearly did not walk out of his home. And they haven't done a stitch of forensics. They haven't even been able to get frickin' probable cause. They are not, if they cannot find probable cause to do a frickin' forensic search warrant, I have low regard for Eric Craddock or the DA's office. I've been around the block a time or two. This is not how we conduct criminal investigations. Oh, that's right. It's not a criminal investigation. Excuse me. This is not how we conduct investigations. This is not how we conduct investigations. No forensics. Forensics are what's going to make or break this case. The data, the forensic data, the GM information and all their vehicles from the Bowersox to the Proudfoots, everybody, that's going to be what breaks this case. We're not going to have a witness in this case. It's going to be all forensics. It's all going to be data. This is what's going to get this case closed. And that's the stuff that's going to take some time. But this forensics, that's important. And people here in our country like this thing called DNA. And when you slow walk the process, it makes everybody feel uncomfortable. And believe me, this is being slow walked. And I don't know what kind of, what kind of cases a lot of the local news have covered, other than their local news. I have covered a lot of cases across this country. Okay? I have been in a lot of communities across this country. I'm not isolated to my state of Florida. I have watched policing in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, California, Texas, Maryland. I have seen law enforcement literally all over this country. I've seen the worst of law enforcement, and I have seen the absolute best of law enforcement. I can tell you the state of Tennessee, in my book, of all the states I have been through, gets a big old fat F out of all of my states. Tennessee is by far my worst state. You guys have massive problems in the state of Tennessee. And I mean that in every literal sense. If you are in Tennessee, vote differently. Your children are in danger with your current administration. TBI needs a change in leadership. Whatever kind of training they're getting in Tennessee needs to be reinvigorated with new leadership. At this point, this seniority rules in the state of Tennessee has got to go. You get your position based upon what you produce and do for your citizens of your state. Why do you guys keep empowering the people that aren't doing their job? You've got a shit ton of kids in that state that are missing, that are most likely dead at the hands of their parents, but their parents hid their bodies so well, that they're not going to be charged. That is not how law enforcement should be done. Tennessee needs help. You guys need to be funding your law enforcement out there. If you're not funding your law enforcement, you can't be crying and complaining when this knocks on your door and it's your child. Because when you call 911, you want them showing up. You want them showing up in force, and you don't want them dropping the ball on your kid. This is the second case where the child has been hidden really well by their parents, and now Tennessee shuts down. And now we're going to be like another Summer Wells case. 3 years later, we have nothing. They could have sued and took those parents and got those nasty-ass parents off the street. If they took them to court for the criminal liability for their children and how they were raising their children. Would it have put them in jail forever? No, but it would have sure given them a couple years to think about it. It would have given them a couple years to get all that gunk out of their bodies. It would have given them time to think about what they did. It would have made one of them break. They failed. Hawkins County failed. Sumner County is failing. The state of Tennessee has failed. TBI has failed. TBI is great about finding people. They're great at finding people when they're alive. They're great at finding people that are above ground and walking, and they just need to be found. Great at it. That's not what I care them to be great at. I care them to be great at finding the ones that can't be found. And that's where we're having our problem. If you know anybody in Alaska, we need to start getting this around to the people. People in Alaska aren't people that love social media. They're not people that are attuned with internet. They live a very different type of lifestyle, okay? A lot of them are mountain men, if you will. They live in rugged weather. They have means of getting around, and they're usually power items. Some people can't even get to and from their homes without owning a plane. And the scary part is the temperatures in Alaska sometimes get so cold, it stalls the plane. much I would like that idea. I don't know if I could ever get comfortable with falling out of the sky and having to jam that plane into gear to get it powered back up again. I don't know if that's my cup of tea. I really don't know if it's my cup of tea, but I have watched Mountain Men, and I know it's real. And let me tell you, I'm happy I'm in Florida. You know what? It's 100 and some odd degrees outside this door, and I'm staying in here in this nice AC. Okay, I get it. But you know what? My butt ain't falling out of a sky. I'm just saying, okay? I'm planted on the ground. The only thing I have to worry about here is something falling out of the sky, which I think is a little less probable than me falling out of a sky. Okay, I'm just saying. So we like Florida. We like Florida. Florida's our friend. Florida's our friend. Okay. But I did, but in all reality, there are people that believe he's in Alaska. Is it possible? Yeah. Yeah, it could be. We have the Bowersox leaving. The Bowersox seem to be, neck deep in all this nonsense. Could they have moved Sebastian somewhere? His father has hope. His father, in his heart, soul, feels his son is here. And feels that he's going to be reunited with his son in the flesh. And I don't want to stifle that hope for his father. I don't want to stifle that hope at all. So we are going to keep a positive, we want positivity out of this. I still have to be realistic. But for all the positive, all my positive, while I'm being realistic, we have a whole army here that believes that this child is in Alaska. So if you know people in Alaska, maybe it's time to start getting your friends on board and saying, hey, look, we need your help. There's not a whole lot of communication for us to be had there in Alaska. We believe that there might be a boy that could potentially be in there. We know we have Army bases in Anchorage. One of my friends from high school was stationed out there with her husband for years. She hated it. But she was stationed out there for years. If you know somebody that's out there, if you know somebody that's at that base, reach out to them. And if you know somebody in the circle that can reach out to them, start sending Sebastian's stuff over there. Let's start getting this stuff circulated really heavily in Alaska. And there's not a whole lot of means for me to be able to do that because I have very little and very limited folks that watch me in Alaska. So the only way I'm reaching to Alaska is by you guys. And we need somebody that knows somebody in Alaska, that knows somebody in that Army base or Navy. I don't know what's out there. The military base. I'll just say military base and my butt's covered. If you guys can, know send them the flyer. Start asking them to help us, get his name and face in that state because that state is one of the hardest states for us to communicate to. Okay? It's one of the hardest states for people like me to get to. We don't have a lot of Alaska people that watch us. So the ones that have access to people in Alaska or live in Alaska or are the few that do watch the true crime genre, get his name out there. Go post his face. You never know. And if you do have an ability to give it to an Army person that would be willing to distribute it throughout the community, please ask for that permission. We need all hands on deck. Let's face it, this child is a military child. He comes from military parents. His father is in law enforcement, and his step-parents are retired military. So, all branches of government should be on board with helping and sharing because this is one of their own, the way I'm looking at it. So if anybody could help me out with that, that would be great. Because that's where we need to be focusing. It does sound like there's a lot of people out here that believe that Alaska might be a probability. If you truly believe that, let's put action behind that and get his face out there in Alaska. I'm telling you, I look at my analytics all the time. I know one of my least, and it's not just me, it's for anybody. I don't think they have the technology that we do. And Alaska, I have a hard problem reaching. So if you have the ability to reach. That's your part. That's what you can do to help this case. That's what you can do to help this case. All right, guys, I love you. I hope you have an amazing day. It's already 8 o'clock this morning. It's Tuesday. It's already been raining cats and dogs here in Florida for me, which is welcoming because, like you guys heard me yesterday when I was on my live, knock, knock, the lawn man was here. He's like, hey, you need your lawn mowed. I looked out there and I said, well, it's pretty dead, don't you think? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, you can't really cut something that's not there. So hearing the rain pouring down this morning was amazing, you know. But go out and have a great day. I'm going to be here working. I'm trying to get planned up to make my trip out to Tennessee. And once I start getting that all focused, I will let you guys know if you guys want to help out. We're also doing, there's going to be a Layla Santanello vigil that's going to be taking place on June 27th. That marks her 1-year milestone of her being missing. This is going to be very hard for us as a family because Layla was a case that was very near and dear to my heart. I was hoping that she would have been found by now. She has not. This is going to be a very hard day for her mom. So we're going to be out there in support of Jen Santanello. I will be getting some flyers and finding out where this is. If anybody wants to come out there and join us for this, I would greatly appreciate it. If you want to, you know, support Jen Santanello, you want to support me, you want to support the channel and the activism that we do, we will be out there and we'll be showing our support from our channels and all of our beautiful people that can't be there. We are there for you. So I just wanted to let you know that that's where we're going. Again, when we got into this case, we truly thought that she would be found by now, and she has not. And again, another one in Tennessee. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Tennessee is becoming by far one of my worst states. I cringe going into. I literally cringe. It's like, here we go again. You know? And I'm just going to start, you know? I might as well sell the steak instead of the sizzle because you know what? I'm sick of selling the sizzle and not the steak. And at the end of the day, every time I go into Tennessee, if the child's not found within 24 or 48 hours, I'm just going to start saying this is going to be a cold case. 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 Until I'm sick and tired of saying it, and until Tennessee is sick and tired of having that bad reputation and does something about it. This is all preventable. They can be looking at what can they do, and maybe they are. I would say the first thing you need to do if you're hitting your freaking head against the wall this much is start working to change the laws so you don't have to keep fighting yourself. That's the first thing law enforcement can do for law enforcement. But again, I'm not there. If I come into that town and I see major things, I will be working to resolve those. I want a functioning government. I want a functioning everything. But now that I'm going into this county, I'm going into this county. That means I'm not just searching for this boy. I'm going to be tearing up the county's books apart. I'm going to be getting some public records. I'm going to be finding their money. I'm going to be finding their silos. And I'm going to be applying a pressure behind the scenes that nobody understands. Because that's how I work. I don't bring everything to the front, but yes, we do a lot of stuff behind the scenes that help guide law enforcement with certain pressures that we do behind the scenes. And when I start throwing a temper tantrum, I do it through public records and lawful means to make sure that the communities and counties know that I'm throwing a temper tantrum. And it irritates them because I become this boil on their butt. So it's not just about Sebastian. If this is what law enforcement wants to do, that's fine. I'm not a resident of Tennessee, but we have a lot of residents out there, and I am happy to sit up with one of the residents and work on making their life a living hell. I don't want to do that, but law enforcement needs to stop. We're in here to take care, to do a job. They have to do a job. I've got the law on my side. They got the law on their side. So hopefully we can all work in harmony and disgruntledness, because I am a disgruntled person, right? But I'm also a harmonious person. So I'm going to go there and do my job as an advocate and a journalist. And that's where we're going to be. So we'll be out there, like I said, in about a week or two. I plan on doing a lot of public records requests while I'm out there, not just for the Proudfoots, but like I said, I'm going in to find out why this community is functioning the way it's functioning. You know, I'm about to strip the county butt naked and put them in front of social media. So I hope they stand up. I hope they have everything, all of their stuff in the right order. I hope I don't find anything behind the scenes, you know, government wise. But every county I go into, I find their silos. And their community needs to know how much money they've got, how much money they're not spending, that they're collecting and not spending. So I'm planning on going in there and doing a little bit of damage control as well. A little bit of damage control as well. So hopefully at the end of this, we'll at least get them more funding as a result of the work that I'm doing, which at the end of the day is what they truly need. They need more funding. They need more bodies in law enforcement. And by the time we're done, hopefully we'll accomplish all of that. We'll get them more funding, get them more people, get them more people to investigate, and hopefully start getting some work done on Sebastian Rogers. That is my hope. That is my hope. We'll see how it all works. But guys, I'll be back here later this afternoon, and we'll be running. I'm hopeful that we'll be doing at least 3 lives here, and then I'll have 2 lives on my main channel and 1 live on my Crime Stories channels today. So you guys should, no matter where you are, what you're doing, what platform you're on, you should be getting live. I'm just now rolling out my official lives on Facebook individually, like I do here, where they're not the same exact show. We've got literally different lives going off on different platforms all day long. When I'm home, this is what I do all day long. But when I'm in the field, sometimes you see me, sometimes you don't, because I still have to search whether I have internet or not. At the end of the day, when I'm out there, my job is that missing person. It's not really, you'll always get the content. It just might be a little later. That's all. When I'm out in the field, the content slows down immensely unless I have good internet where I can just roll with you guys live. And if I can just roll with you guys live, then you guys are just saddled with me for the ride. I got plenty of batteries, so you never have to worry about ever being dropped or shutting down. You literally, when we go live, all my cameras are literally plugged into batteries. So throughout that live, unless they're disconnected or I lose a phone, you guys will be able to see everything I'm seeing in real time. So that is my hope. Hopefully we don't have any problems with that, and hopefully I can run all my phones on all my platforms like we have in the past. So we'll see. It's been a little while since we've been out in the field. I just got to go through and repack all my bags, because the last time I packed my bags was 3 months ago when we were supposed to leave for Tennessee. Just saying. Have a great day. Remember, it's Tuesday. Tomorrow's Wednesday. We'll be back then. I'm just joking. We'll see you soon.